On July 1st, over 400,000 NCAA athletes became eligible to take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. A couple of weeks ago on Sports Business Radio, we had sports lawyer Darren Heitner on to talk about NIL and the legal ramifications of NIL. But this week, I wanted to bring the student athlete perspective. We've got two elite student athletes joining us for this conversation. Jaydon Grant, Oregon State football. You can follow him on Twitter at Jaydon Grant. And Dana Rettke, University of Wisconsin volleyball. You can follow her on Twitter at Dana_Rettke. Jaydon and Dana, thanks for joining me on Sports Business Radio. How are you guys?
Doing well.
Good. Let's start with Dana. Dana, it's a month in for NIL. It kind of came up quick. You know, NCAA dropped a lot of their legislation on the 30th of June, July 1st. They're like, hey, here are all the new rules. Not a lot of time to prepare. 1 month in, how's it going for you?
You know, it's going well. I can't really say that we're in a state or, you know, throughout this whole, we're not in a state to really know what is going on. I think a lot of people, their attitudes have been up in the air about it. Some people have really capitalized on this and have they've seen this coming for a while. And other people, I think I put myself in this category of kind of laying low and just seeing what's up, seeing what the opportunities are, and going from there. So it's kind of been all over the board. Definitely think that from the student athlete perspective, things are really just thrown at us and just like, hey, you can do this. Like, really, that's awesome. But from the institutional perspective as well, I think a lot of things were thrown together, which I think, you know, people are trying to do the best they can for their student athletes, but it's definitely going to take some time. But just so far throughout the past month, I've learned a lot. Definitely have put a focus on my brand. I've, you know, been growing it for a while, but putting more of a focus on my brand has been something that I've been doing and that I put more focus on right now. So far, so good. Just trying to see what's up.
Yeah, and I want to come back to you in a minute and hear specifically how you've been growing your brand. But Jaydon, 1 month in, what kind of opportunities have you been approached with? How are you being proactive? I mean, you've got these new NIL rights. How's it been going for you a month in?
I mean, it's been pretty slow. I mean, I did the bulk of my work so I've been working on the bill on SB5 here in Oregon since like January. So I actually knew that, you know, it was a good possibility that we could get a bill passed by July 1st of 2021. So it's kind of been a long time coming for me. And then with our schools, it was a little bit different because, you know, we had such supportive legislators who were pushing this bill and senators that were pushing this bill. I think institutions over here, they kind of realized that it was going to happen, you know, whether they agreed with it or not. So it gave them a little bit of more time to prepare and to really, you know, give us all the tools to, you know, help us be successful and also stay safe and, you know, not break any rules when this thing did pass on July 1st. But I mean, as far as me personally, you know, I've had some opportunities here and there, but I also didn't just want to jump on any opportunity as well, because I know that could affect your brand as well. So I've just been I mean, we have fall camp coming up. So I've just kind of been laying low. If the right opportunity presents itself, I'll take it. But I haven't really been going out of my way, or I haven't even reached out to anybody, you know, asked if they were willing to do anything with me. I'm just kind of playing it by ear right now.
So it's not like, oh, July 1st came, the floodgates opened, and, you know, you and all of your student athlete friends are being besieged with NIL opportunities.
I know. It's funny because it's like I look on Twitter and Twitter's acting like just every college athlete just got rich on July 1st or something like that. When really it's not really like that. There's a lot of people who could have been like benefiting from their social media accounts and stuff are probably the ones who, you know, had those deals real quick. But I also think it's a thing where like companies are kind of having to evolve with this society as well, because, you know, they might not realize how much, you know, value a college athlete could have for their brand because they've never really worked with college athletes before.
Dana, is there anyone who sat down with you and said, okay, this is how it's going to work. These are the opportunities. You know, there's all kinds of rules around copyrights and pictures that you can use and can't use. For instance, if you guys did a deal with someone and you took it in your uniform and you said, hey, this is the picture of me, and it goes out, that's a no-no. Like, it has to just be a picture of you. Can't be you branded in Wisconsin or Oregon State stuff. Has anyone, Dana, sat down with you and said, here are the rules?
Absolutely. And I think that's something that we really needed to get out of the way first, so everyone could, save their eligibility. Our administrators at Wisconsin, we just had a volleyball team meeting with about 5 or 6 administrators and just kind of asked questions. They went through our handbook that is presented right now. And so I think everyone got a much clearer look at what these rules entail. Now, there is a fine line. It's definitely defined, but it can be vague at times. It's no logos, no pictures of you playing with your jersey on, just stuff like that. So it's really, there is a line and you can keep them separate, but making sure that everyone is on the same page at all times is important in order for us to save our eligibility.
Jaydon, what about you at Oregon State? Did someone sit down with you or your teammates and explain, this is how this is going to work? Here's the do's and don'ts.
Yeah, definitely. And that was one of their biggest concerns. Even when I was in the meetings with, the senators and the university athletic directors and different things like that, one of their concerns was, how are we going to get the information and protect our student athletes in time with, a July 1st start date? Obviously, they managed to do it. I think about a few weeks before July 1st, they came in and said, like, this is what's coming. This is what we've done. They partnered with this company called Open Doors. And it makes it really simple to for companies to reach out to you through Open Doors, but also for you to list all the opportunities, all the things that you've done. That way, it's a direct line of communication with the university through an app that's pretty simple, and it just makes it a lot easier. It's a lot cleaner experience as far as disclosing your NIL deals. So that's kind of where Oregon State's been at. I don't know where all the other schools been at, but they've been really proactive, once they kind of realized that, this bill is going to pass regardless of what we think. They kind of were proactive in taking the right steps to make sure that all of us are, protected.
Yeah, Open Doors is a great tool. I think Wisconsin uses Open Doors as well,
Yep.
Right, Dana?
Yep.
So yeah, it does make it like a one-stop shop where,
Yeah.
they bring you opportunities and you can either say yes or no through an app. But it's not like you're out there having to look for all of these opportunities on your own if you don't want to. Dana, you just talked a few minutes ago about building your brand. How are you building your brand, and what does your brand entail in your opinion?
Yeah, so for me, just building my brand has just been me being authentic to who I am, really pushing out to, people that follow me, what I enjoy doing, the type of person I am, what I enjoy outside of volleyball, my volleyball experience. I think everything that we experience in life is our brand. So making sure that we bring that out to our followers in a way that is authentic is the way you build your brand. Now, I have an advantage because I am a marketing student. I graduated with a marketing degree. So a lot of this stuff in NIL, I have a lot of experience with just from my classes in the business school, and it's really put me at an advantage. But it's something that I've been working on for a long time. And, I hear athletes right now being like, oh, I only have one post on Instagram from 2017, I don't know if that's like the best way to go, but at the same time, you don't have to capitalize on social media endorsements to build your brand. It can be anything. It can be appearances. It can be doing cameos, anything like that. So those are just some ways that I've personally found it beneficial to build my brand. I know that's different for every athlete.
Jaydon, how are you building your brand and how do you define your brand?
I think kind of what Dana said is just being authentic to me. Like, I don't necessarily, maybe it's like subconsciously I'm building my brand, but I don't necessarily look at it like, oh, I'm doing this to build my brand. You know what I'm saying? Like, my time on social media, obviously, you're kind of schooled on what to say, what not to say from a young age on social media. I feel like that goes to building your brand. And then just like, I'm a big family person. I'm a person that always shows love to a lot of people on my social media platforms. And just because this NIL stuff, happened, I didn't want any of that to change. I just wanted to stay being myself, stay being authentic, who I am. But then obviously there's different strategies and stuff that can help you in these fields. I just haven't really, personally looked into it. Something I wish I would have, started doing back before even the NIL stuff came out.
You've taken some business classes too, right, Jaydon?
Yeah, I've taken some business classes. I just got my graduate certificate in business analytics, and then my MSB, which I'll be done with in either the fall or the winter, is in marketing and analytic insights.
So I think it's great that both of you are taking these classes. I think it would help you as you navigate NIL, and both of you want to move on to the next level and play professionally. So knowing how all of that works from the marketing and the business standpoint, I think is going to serve you well. Dana, you're going to go play professionally after you graduate from University of Wisconsin, again, volleyball. How are you laying the groundwork for that? And I guess your NIL experience is going to end up being one season, but you can use all of what you're doing right now to kind of catapult you to when you become a pro athlete.
Absolutely. And that's really what that's how I've approached this opportunity. I have one semester left of school and volleyball here at University of Wisconsin. And so the NIL has given us an opportunity to at least start having those conversations with companies that I would want to possibly partner with in my professional career. So that has been, one of the biggest gifts. And I've already had those conversations. Of course, we don't want to, get into the weeds of conflict of interest or anything like that. But just allowing conversations like this to happen has been a huge win, especially for me, as someone who's about to be a professional volleyball player in the next 5 months.
I think that's smart. So again, plant the seeds now, maybe even do some deals with companies that you'd like to partner with when you're a pro athlete. And, hopefully that's the beginning of a long-term relationship with those companies, right?
Absolutely. And I think that, with NIL happening, it's such a recent thing that these companies don't really know who they even want to represent them. So I think it's kind of a two-way street in that sense, interacting with these companies, getting to know you and them, what their brand strategy is, what yours is, and seeing if you're compatible. That's what these conversations allow us to make happen right now.
Jaydon, I know I'm going to be watching you play on Sundays in the NFL at some point. What are you doing to lay the groundwork for when you go to the next level? And, again, whether that's with marketing people or whether it's with companies that you like their product and might want to do business with when you become a pro?
Just making sure that, like I said, just continue to be authentic, but then also just maintaining professionalism, carrying myself like a professional, somebody that a company can see and say, okay, I feel safe or I feel good about marketing this, this guy or this, what I'm saying? So for me, like I said, it hasn't really been like a big emphasis, like, oh, I need to set this up. I need to set this up. And part of that is because, once you get into fall camp, we don't get no time off anyway. So my mind just hasn't really been there. And another part of me was just kind of worn out for those 5 months of working on that bill. That kind of made me like, once it's kind of ironic, but like once the bill dropped, I was kind of like, I'm cool off of NIL like for a little bit because it was a long process. But yeah, I would just say just continue to be authentic, continue to do things that got me into this position right now, and then just to maintain a level of professionalism.
Dana, the other student athletes on the Wisconsin campus, are you talking to them? What are they seeing with NIL? Have you seen anyone who's made some deals, or is it still relatively quiet 1 month in?
Yeah, honestly, I would say outside of a couple of student athletes, it has remained relatively quiet. I personally don't really want to have conversations about NIL with my friends and my teammates. I just think that there is a level of competition that NIL does bring into the team that can be healthy or unhealthy. And I think with how new everything is, it's kind of good to just wait until our educational modules come out through Wisconsin, where they're working on something right now. It's called UW. It's the educational aspect of NIL, which is going to teach us some great life skills. But until then, I think that, again, things are quiet. I know our quarterback has done some deals with like Canes, and our O-line got sponsored by a barbecue place, stuff like that I've seen. But other than that, laying pretty low. And just from, an interactional standpoint, haven't really, the first thing that the first things don't come up in conversation are how many deals have you had and what are you talking about? Just because at the end of the day, we're all student athletes. We're here to get an education. We're here to perform well at our sport. And if we don't do those things, the deals won't come to begin with.
So I want to go back to what you just said about University of Wisconsin offering a module, an educational module to teach student athletes about NIL. In general, what is that course going to look like? Because we have people from other universities that listen to this and they may go, oh my gosh, we need to offer that kind of course at our university.
Yeah, I think that, a lot of this stuff does pertain to NIL, but it's also just great life skills. It's going to be, those legal classes, the ones that teach you about like what copyright is, trademarks, all of that stuff that can be a legal issue if you cross paths with it in your NIL interactions. Classes like negotiation, taxes, stuff like that, because now we do have an income and we need to learn how to like do our taxes. And I think that's something that in college and in life you don't really learn. But now we're having this opportunity to get this information out to us through our UW program, which is still kind of in the works again, all super new, but this is, they push out emails, a couple times a week just with some updates. So I'm really excited because those are life skills that we'll take with us forever. And we, just some stuff that you don't get to learn in a traditional classroom setting.
I guess outstanding. I think every university should be offering
Absolutely.
Something similar. Jaydon, is Oregon State offering any kind of class like that? And if so, what does it look like?
Yeah, so they're actually partnered with the College of Business, and they actually do have a class on NIL. I think a few classes, and I think they even talked about something like about a major potentially being some type of like a major. I don't know exactly what it is, so I don't want to speak on it. You know what I'm saying? But I know that they are offering classes, and then they have actually came in, like they had the one meeting before, let us know it's coming, and then right before it dropped, they came in and talked to us and let us know like what the deal was as far as like the rules and regulations and all that. And then they also gave like ways that we can turn to them for help. So like the College of Business is super big on helping and educating with, all the taxes and different things like that. And then like the marketing side of the business as well helps out too. And basically just trying to do everything that they can as we're all still filling this out of how to, properly educate and put their student athletes in, the best position to actually have success with NIL. But at the same time, there's restrictions that only allows the universities to do so much.
Jaydon, I'll ask you this because I know the NFLPA authorized agents to be able to work with student athletes like you on NIL deals. I was a little surprised by that, to be honest with you, but there are players out there who have done marketing partnerships with agents who are helping them get NIL deals. Is this something that you've been approached about? And you don't have to tell me who or how or when, but have people approached you and said, hey, look, I know you might be playing in the NFL. Let us handle your NIL deals while you're at Oregon State.
Yeah, there's been a few actually agents that have hit me up and talked about NIL. And it was cool or whatever to hear the different things, but at the same time, like I said, my mind just hasn't been, on NIL. It's been on this upcoming season and getting ready for training camp and finishing summer workouts. And before I looked at it like, if I wouldn't be I wouldn't be really wanting to talk to an agent about the next level right now. So I really don't want to talk to an agent about NIL right now. But I mean, at the same time, everybody's different. I'm sure if an agent approached me and it was just like, well, if you sign with me, there's potentially, X amount of dollars for you to get, and I know I'll get it, then maybe I have to think about it or something like that. But right now, like I said, I'm just still figuring things out. And then trying to my main thing, and I think it's society's kind of concerned with NIL too, which I agree with to an extent, is that you never want to get take your eyes off the prize. You never want to forget why you're there, because at the end of the day, you come in, you're worrying about NIL, and it's just like, well, you're not handling business on the football field or on the volleyball court. And so it's really all about, I feel like those two go hand in hand. I mean, there's some circumstances where, somebody might not ever play it down, but they might be one of the most successful, people with NIL due to their social media followings. But for me, I definitely never wanted, NIL to derail my focus off of, the main priority, which is playing football, being a good teammate, continuing to be a good leader, and, going out there and trying to work towards accomplishing our goals this season.
Dana, you are nearing the end of your career at University of Wisconsin. There's been a lot of talk for years about athlete compensation, student athlete compensation. NIL obviously it's a way where student athletes can take advantage of their name, image, and likeness. I don't want to get you in trouble. I'm not trying to ask you a weird question, but I'm someone who thinks student athletes make a lot of money for their universities. And I guess I'm interested in finding out from you, and then I'll ask Jaydon, do you feel like the scholarship and what you've been given by University of Wisconsin is enough? Or 10 years from now, would you like to see student athletes being compensated beyond what you're compensated with right now?
Yeah, I think in some cases it's kind of a loaded question. I do not and will not ever believe that student athletes should get compensated based on playing time alone. And I think that's something that a lot of people misinterpret, is student athletes are getting compensated. Well, people that play more are going to get paid more. Well, that's not, always the case. It's about building your brand. University of Wisconsin has done a fabulous job making sure that all their student athletes are taken care of, no matter if that's scholarship, cost of attendance. And I know that not everybody is on scholarship, but, all of our student athletes, I think, are taken care of very well. With that being said, I do think that student athletes bring in a lot of money. And do I think it needs to be a huge sum for student athletes? No, I don't think so at all. Because at the end of the day, Jaydon touched on this, we are here to get an education and perform in our respective sports. So I don't know. I think it kind of depends on the lens you look through it. I have had nothing but gratitude for everything that I've gotten through the University of Wisconsin. And at the end of the day, we work hard, and if you work hard, win games, and play well, good things are going to come for you.
Okay. Jaydon, what's your answer to that question? Do you think student athletes are fairly compensated now by the universities, or do you think there could be additional compensation in the future, and or are things great and leave it alone?
No, I'm not talking. So, it is a loaded question because there's a lot of ramifications, and it's really complex when you talk about revenue sharing, not only because of the laws, but because of, I wouldn't say a money problem, but how universities, decide to spend their money, where they allocate, different resources. It makes it a tricky question, but I'll answer this. I'll say, in a perfect world where no other sport gets touched or gets hindered from, any sport getting paid or whatever, I do believe that college athletes should be compensated. You look at the amount of money that is made every single year. And this is not to say, because the first thing that somebody would say, that I said, oh, well, he's not grateful for his scholarship, or he's not grateful for what, the school provides for them, or whatever they may say. And that's just not true at all. I think you look at the money that's in college athletics. I play college football, so I'm gonna say specifically college football right now. And it's crazy. And it's crazy. This is things I learned kind of over this past year that I never really looked into or knew. I never knew how much money, the Pac-12 makes, or the Big Ten makes, or the SEC makes, off of sports. I never really understood that. And when you look at, all the college sports that come through and all the college athletes, I think that if college athletes could be compensated, I think that you could have changed a lot of lives, because there's a lot of people who don't go on to play professionally when they're projected to play professionally when they first come in. So they put all their eggs, in one basket and make them professionally, whether that's their performance, whether that's, injuries or different things. It may not pan out. That person might have been from a low income community. That person may not have had the best, life growing up, or been from the best area. And that person, might go right back to it once they lose football, because they think that, football is everything, with nothing to show for it. But they have the degree, obviously, which we both said we're obviously thankful for. But it is just a tricky question, because I don't want to step on any toes or overstep or create any controversy, because I know it's a controversial question. But overall, yes, I do believe student athletes should be compensated. And like she said, it doesn't have to be a huge lump sum. I mean, even if you say, okay, we're going to split this percentage across all student athletes evenly, like she said, like any extra money or any extra, way that a student athlete could be compensated, I think will help.
Good answer. Dana, let our audience get to know you a little bit. If you were not playing volleyball and you were just a student and taking the classes that you've taken and you graduate from University of Wisconsin, what would you want to do?
So, also a loaded question.
Are your parents listening?
my parents will definitely be listening to this. So I am actually kind of in between two places. So I graduated with a degree in marketing and risk management and insurance. So two completely opposite sides of the spectrum. I am super passionate about all of this, the sports marketing, being in sports. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. So that is ultimately, I think, what I would want to do in the future. On the other side, I'm in an internship right now in insurance, specifically reinsurance. And it's also super interesting, not as, I guess, creative as you could be in the marketing side, but that, like corporate insurance, there's just, it's huge, it's complex, it's a puzzle. So I don't know, again, two opposite sides of the spectrum, two different brains for myself, but I think ultimately at the end of the day, as a normal student, I would definitely want to get into sports marketing.
Hey, it's good to have options, right? Like you've
Exactly.
taken your classes, you've got lots of options ahead. And obviously first, hopefully you're going to have a nice career playing pro volleyball. Jaydon, if you were not playing football and you were graduating and going out into the workforce, what would you want to be doing?
I mean, not to bite off her, but similar type of thing. I've definitely been the type of person who always wanted to be around sports, after I'm done playing. So I think something within sports marketing, especially being out here in Oregon, we have, Jordan brand, Nike brand, Adidas brand, all right here in our backyard. Thankfully I've been able to make some connections with people who work there, throughout my whole entire life. So, if I ever wanted to pursue something like that, I know I'd have connections to help me get my foot in the door. So I think definitely something within sports, sports business as well. I've also thought, like, I don't know, maybe, like, humbly speaking, I feel like I would enjoy doing a lot of different types of things. You know what I'm saying? Like, even like if I wanted to be like an agent, one day, or different things like that. And there's always my coaches are always telling me that I'm going to be a coach in 20 years from now. They're like, oh, you're gonna be a coach. Watch. So I was like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna be a coach. Like, yeah, like they devote so much time, what I'm saying, and then don't get to play on Saturdays, Sundays. So that just be tough. But yeah, I think something within sports business would be right up my alley.
For our listening audience, I've known Jaydon since he was born. I'm very good friends with his dad and mom and family. And, it's so great to see what you've grown into. Dana was on with us on Sports PR Summit online a few weeks ago, and I was so impressed with how she conducts herself and how eloquent you are. And, you guys have done a great job with what you've done on the field of play or on the court. And then also taking advantage of learning in the classroom. Dana, I'll end with this. Over the course of your career at University of Wisconsin, this could be on or off the court, what's the biggest, most valuable lesson that you've learned?
Hitting all the loaded questions today. Oh, gosh. So as of right now, this is my best answer. Just the biggest lesson I've learned is just how valuable relationships are, whether that be with teammates, with staff members. Building those connections at our age is just so important for your future success. And I mean, I am someone who's a huge people person. I love meeting new people and being around people and getting to talk to people. And that has just been something that in the position that I'm in has just been such a gift to be able to have the opportunity to meet so many people and to just build relationships, build connections within, or to build my own brand and just to, support the community that supports our program so much. So that has probably been the biggest thing, just always sharing the love and giving the love is kind of my motto.
Dana, how old are you?
I am 22.
You are like 22 going on 55. You are wise beyond your years. I
I
mean,
don't know
seriously.
about that.
No, let me tell you
But
what,
I
that
appreciate it.
answer, the value of relationships and recognizing that building relationships is essential. Just whether it's friendships or business relationships or coaches or whatever, like that's a wonderful answer. Jaydon, I'm going to ask you now, you got to follow up that answer. That's a tough act to follow, but I know you value relationships too, but what's the biggest lesson that you've learned? And, you know, I'll tell our audience, Jaydon was a star basketball player in Oregon and you walked on at Oregon State. So I'm so proud of you because you have earned everything that you've gotten. No one, you know, recruited you as a football player or said, hey, like, we're going to give you this opportunity. You made it all happen.
Yeah. And that's funny that you said that because I was just sitting here thinking, like, what was my biggest lesson? Because I've learned so much, so many lessons, you know, went through so many adversity, like I said, walked on. The overarching theme, I think, would be, like, I always thought and look back and thought, like, I always wanted to be controlled. Like, I always wanted to control the narrative of my life. And by doing so, the biggest lesson I learned in doing that was to take accountability for my own life. Like, whatever position I'm in, I had to come to a realization that no matter what BS that I thought I was going through, or, you know, whether it was injuries or this coach doesn't like me or this person did this, like, it was always like, you know what I'm saying, that was what it was. It was never like, okay, well, what could I do differently? Yeah, some BS happened to me. What could I do differently? Because at the end of the day, the only actions that I can control are my own. I can't control what somebody else does. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to take control of my life, control the narrative of my life. And in doing so, every little thing or situation that I'm in, I only look to myself. You know, I only look in the mirror like, okay, what can I do? And on the flip side of it, it made me a better person. You know, it made me a better player. It made me a better leader because I no longer point fingers, you know, for anything that happens to me or, oh, this happened, that they did that. I just look at myself and I look in the mirror and really, truly take accountability or just look, you know, what could I have done differently or what should I do differently moving forward? And I think that's how I am able to learn.
I wish I was half as wise and mature as you guys at your age when I was your age, but I can't thank you both enough for shedding insight into NIL and just the student athlete experience. I wish you both the best of success, Dana. I'm going to be following your career from here on out, and you know, I can't wait to see you playing pro volleyball, and you know, certainly reach out anytime you need anything from me. And Jaydon, your family. So I know I'll be speaking to you again, but you know,
going to that hill today?
huh?
I said, you and BG going to hit the hill today?
I don't know. We got to see. We got to see if he's up for it. It's gonna be pretty warm today. Pretty warm today. Jaydon's dad, Brian, and I go on walks frequently. Try and you know, as you get older, you got to stay in shape. So, but thank you guys so much. Jaydon Grant, you can follow him on Twitter at Jaydon Grant, and Dana Rettke, you can follow her on Twitter at Dana_Rettke. Thank you guys so much, and best of success to you moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you, Burger.